Greetings, Ben Murray here with another edition of SaaS Metrics School. Welcome. So today talking about your MRR schedule. I can't overestimate the importance of your MRR schedule because your MRR schedule is worth its weight in gold in due diligence. So let's talk about this. So your MRR schedule, what is an MRR schedule? So at its most basic form, it's revenue by customer by month. So think of an Excel spreadsheet and a grid, and down the left side in column A, you have customer name. And then across the top, row A, you have each period, each month, and you have revenue by customer by month and all the cells. So that is an MRR schedule. Of course, it can get more advanced than that. We can have it segmented by product line, by ideal customer profile, by geo. However you manage your business, we can segment that, of course, as long as that metadata is attached to that customer data, which is really important. Now, that's for another SaaS Metrics School. So that's an MRR schedule. So how do you create an MRR schedule? Now, in my free SaaS CFO templates course, I'll put a link in the show notes. I have a template that walks you through how you create your MRR schedule, and then you paste that into my retention schedule and it creates your retention. Now, that course is free. I could probably charge $500 just for that piece of that course. So please take advantage of it. But how do you create an MRR schedule? So at a minimum, you need customer name, you need the invoice amount, you need the subscription start date, you need the subscription end date. So I sold a big contractor, it's small, big, whatever, to IBM, and it's $12,000 a year. We need the subscription start date, say that's Jan 1st, the end date, 12/31, and the amount. Now, one extra piece of data, which would be helpful so we could more conform to GAAP and rev rec, would be when that invoice was posted. So if you invoice them in January, the January period would be that posting date in case we want to do some rev rec stuff with that. Because of course, timing is important here because maybe you invoice 4 months late, maybe you invoice 3 months earlier, but it's Jan 1st. So that's a whole nother thing with rev rec. But at a minimum, customer name, the invoice amount, what kind of revenue type, that's important because I don't want to throw services into my MRR schedule, and then the subscription start date, subscription end date. Now, if you invoice monthly, and you invoice timely every single month, and you don't forget to invoice in those months, we just need really that invoice month because we know it's a monthly invoice and we can spread out that schedule. So that's what we need to create the MRR schedule. That seems so simple, but I've gone through this countless times with SaaS companies, and this is one of those weakest data areas. It sounds very simple, but oftentimes we can't even create that MRR schedule because our invoice data is so bad, or we can't find all that payments data. So that's how you create the MRR schedule. And then I say MRR schedules are worth their weight in gold. Of course, this is an Excel spreadsheet. There's probably no weight to it, but in the intangible world, there is a lot of weight attached to your MRR schedule because it's always requested in due diligence. You're going to hand that schedule over to your acquirer, potential acquirer, investor, and they're going to push it through their retention template. They're going to slice and dice it. See, they're going to assess the health of your recurring revenue. Now, again, for another podcast, we can do recurring revenue on our retention analysis, MRR schedules on subscription revenue, on variable revenue streams, all that stuff. But we're talking about the basics here. So important that we can produce that. If we can't, it's such a roadblock. I talked to one private equity firm that acquires SaaS businesses less than 10 million ARR. And if they cannot calculate your gross revenue retention, they pass. If we can't even get retention numbers, we pass. And it has to be at least 90% annual. So important to have your MRR schedule. Final thing, if you would like to level up your SaaS metrics knowledge, MRR schedules, retention, how do you calculate that correctly for your business? I've got a SaaS metrics course coming up, a live cohort that has on-demand and live classes, starts July 9th, and I'll put that link in the show notes as well. So very important to have that knowledge, speak the SaaS language so we can produce data like this for our own internal operations as well as for due diligence. So again, your MRR schedule is worth its weight in gold. Try to create your MRR schedule. Go enroll in my free templates course and see if you can do it. That's that first step to see, whoa, do I have a lot of work to do or am I in pretty good shape? So that's it for today. Thanks.